Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West. Here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it, folks. So let's waste no time. Oh, yeah. Let's get to story number 1. A number of local teachers to be recognized. 33 local teachers have been recognized for their work with local children, if you did not know that. Now, the report published March 15th is brief, but it highlights these local teachers' accomplishments in the local schools that they represent. That's why story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2, a boost for Kill Collie. If you did not know, 2 graduates of Youngstown State University have donated a total of $500,000 to the Kill Collie Center. George Young gifted $400,000, and Alexa Sweeney, Black Ann, she gifted $100,000. Now, why she has stayed in consistent headlines due to transitions, and the transition has been going on, and a growing base of support when it comes to the universities, when it comes to a group, a collective, a United States of universities that have been fighting to stay financially strong in these tough economic times, folks. Let's getting this story to the topic. That's why story number 2 made it this week. Story number 3, Jay Breen Mitchell and Aaron Simonek has a WFMJ report focusing on new layoffs coming to Insight Trumbull. If you did not know that. Now, what got this story in is the fact that 164 employees could be affected by the layoffs, which includes 88 registered nurses. Wow, folks, this story is still developing. That's why story number 3 made it this week. Story number 4, Campbell is looking to upgrade homes with grants. Sheen Barron has a report published March 14th explaining how Campbell plans to use a grant program to help its residents maintain and upgrade their homes. Now, the CHIP program, that's CHIP program, would provide down payment assistance to eligible homeowners of low to moderate incomes and includes installations and repairs. Now, the upgrades include foundation work, assistance with roof and gutters, electrical upgrades, plumbing, furnace, water heaters, insulation, doors and window upgrades, and lead-based paint abatements. It's a lot of stuff. Now, this is after the Ohio Department of Development has provided $21.6 million in funding to 29 counties. Now, to be eligible for the program, recipients have to have incomes less than 80% of the area median income, according to the report. So there's something in there. That's why story number 4 made it. Story number 5, more street work in downtown Youngstown. David Skolnick has a report published March 20th in what appears to be the approval of a $2.5 million street project that will begin in May. Make sure I get that right. Now, the improvement work will include rehabilitation at a cost to exceed no more than $1.6 million of the South Avenue Bridge, according to the report. Now, the report goes on to talk about mixed opinions on the improvements, but goes on further to say that the project will start in May and take 6 months to complete. Now, the work will include repaving, vehicle lane reduction, Walnut Street parking work, updated curb ramps, updated lighting, new landscaping, and traffic signal upgrades, along with some pedestrian walkway upgrades. Folks, this is all in the report, in the article. That's why story number 5 made it. Story number 6, Youngstown gets to stretch its budget. David Skolnick has a report published March 18th explaining how the city of Youngstown has reached a record income tax collection. And the report goes on to explain how business income growth from a major employer led to Youngstown seeing a 16.42% increase in income tax collections in 2024, as stated in the report. Now, this is according to City Finance Director Kel Miasek, which he says it led to the city to end the year with a record $61,100,100 from the 2.75% increase. Now, the profits tax sharing from Gerard's Valerek was also mentioned in the report. Now, the article is filled with numbers and is definitely worth a read for those wanting to know more about the city's finances. Pretty sure I got this right, but you could double check, fact check the report. Now, the report goes on to explain how the influx will be used for capital improvement purchases and road improvement projects. That's why story number 6 also made to the top 2 this week. Big headline. Story number 7 and the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Extra, read all about it for you to keep you informed. Folks, if you do want to show some support, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Or you can stop at the store at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio. See my smiling face. Buy something from the store to show some support, show some love to the brother. Story number 7. Local schools wonder about cuts. This is big. Dan Pompley has a report published March 15th of the Vindicator. He explains a growing concern about cuts when it comes to local education. Now, this is due to Trump's plan to close the Department of Education. Now, the article cites uncertainty as a continued concern because a lot of local education funds come from the Department of Education. Now, just so you get an understanding, Boardman received between $3 million and $4 million from the Department of Education. Austintown received about $2.8 million. Thus, getting this story into the top 8. That's why story number 7 also made it to the top this week. Big headline. Story number 8, the top local headline and developing news story that made it this week to keep you informed. That's all I'm in here for. Story number 8. But I do want to say this. I have to mention this. If you do not get up this early, I do upload the show to the website on Mondays, so you can catch the show on the website. I upload it in the morning. As soon as I come in, I get all pampered up, and then I hit the computer and tap. Bam, it's right there for you to check out. Story number 8, Trumbull County dipping into its reserves. So this story shows the budget woes that people are having. Chris McBride has a headline published March 15th explaining how Trumbull County commissioners plan to dip into $2 million of their reserve funds to shore up department budgets and avoid layoffs. Now, this report is yet another example of budget shortfalls staying in top headlines. This would leave the county with $11.5 million in its reserve, shy of the previous $14 million. That's why starting rate made to the top this week. Well, folks, there are top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories. So don't you go anywhere. The Mediator, me, bro. Let's stop right back.
What does Method8Inc.com Media Center have that I need?
Small prints, event consulting, photography, business consulting, technical consulting, entertainment consulting, fundraising advice, event videography, movies, news, publishing, media, books, entertainment, acting, broadcasting, public relations, access to the visual and performing arts, ink and black ink refills, audio recording, graphic design, theater, minor computer and cell phone repair, and they're located at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday. The list goes on and on.
Method8Inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Oh yeah! And yes, we are chipmunks.
back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Folks, I was thinking the other day, it's tax season. And just to let you know, when I thought I had a kid a while back, not being my child, but I was taking care of a kid, and he was living, came out of my ex-wife, and come to find out it wasn't mine, but I thought I was a father at one point. And every morning when I was with the kid, we'd get up and watch cartoons, and I'd be sitting on the couch, and I remember one cartoon they had, it was, I believe it was Batman and Joker. And every episode, Joker would be plotting to get ready to take Batman out. I'm gonna get him! I'm gonna get it! That's what he talking about. I'm gonna get it! And one show, he was in the midst, his boys all ready to go out. We gonna get him! We gonna get Batman! Woo! Yeah! That's what he do in the cartoon. He smile, and he have his suit on, dressing up. We gonna go get Batman. We gonna bust him out. We gonna skin Robin clean. Yeah! One show, he stopped all his work, and he called his accountant. I'll never forget this cartoon, man. Out of all the action-packed, everybody getting fired up to go get Batman, the Joker sat down and did his taxes. I couldn't believe it. Now, that is a lesson for everybody out there. Even when you got to punish your enemies and go out and try to get the superhero in town, you still got to pay the man, the government. I never forget this cartoon. And when I found out the kid wasn't mine, and I remember all our memories of watching cartoons and getting fired up, I turned off the TV and I let him go. Let that memory go. Told my mother she didn't have a grandchild. And me, myself, I went on with my life and did my taxes. And even this year I had to do my taxes myself. But that's the plan. Even the Lord said, give to Caesar what is Caesar, and give to God what is God's. Let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Why is the America First campaign not received by all? Folks, is the plan to focus on yourself and leave everyone around you isolated as you prepare a good strategy? Is that a good strategy? Well, as you prosper. So basically, as everybody else is falling around you, and you're focused on yourself while you prosper and everybody else's fails, is that a good strategy? That's the question, folks. That is the question in what appears to be a difficult move by the United States in a world that used to having America at the dinner table. Now, this is the idea. This is the idea in the middle of in the middle of a war between Ukraine and Russia, which seems to be dragging America in more and more. This is the idea after Israeli strike has killed more than 400 people after a ceasefire thing ended. Now, this war also seems to be dragging America in more and more. Now, the question now is, how will this earn out? Especially when you got a president saying he wants to isolate America away from the world. Now, Fortune has a headline hinting on what an isolated America could look like by stating that foreign tourism into the United States is subtly reversing and is now expected to drop. Now, such stories could keep the attention on how an isolated America could look in the years to come, and a simple understanding of why America First is not being received by all, because it's not an easy thing to do. That's why story number 1 made it this way. Story number 2, a fundamental health question. The Texas Tribune has a report focusing on why a lot of people are on the edge due to some terrible decisions that they've made. Now, the report explains how 2 people have been arrested and charged with performing illegal abortions at a Houston area health clinic. Now, this is after a licensed midwife was charged with the illegal performance of an abortion and practicing medicine without a license. Now, what got the story in is the growing circulating news stories centered around a new theory that the human conscience in today's world could slowly be shifting away from fundamental decisions. That's my story number 2. Story number 3, cuts, and more cuts. NPR has a report about how Trump has signed an executive order aiming to close the education department. Politico has a headline focusing on how the USDA has halted millions of dollars worth of deliveries in food banks. This is deliveries to the food banks. I mean, if you get the gist. Now, federal workers are filing lawsuits after Trump went on a job-cutting spree. That's another one. Stat reports, it has a report on how U.S. funding cuts are leaving health workers around the world reeling. That means they're upset. These are all cuts taking place. The Ukraine and Russia battle goes on even after Trump's decision to cut war aid to Ukraine. This is all just saying we're just going to stop the spending, and we're just going to focus more on our core inner self. Now, these stories are keeping cuts in major headlines, thus getting each headline into the top 8. That's why story number 3 made it. Story number 4, the healthcare issue. Folks, if you did not know, the U.S. has an estimated 100 million Americans who owe at least $220 billion in medical debt, thus getting this story into the top 8. The healthcare issue continues to remain in top headlines. That's story number 4 made it this week. Well, folks, there are top 4 international headlines developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 4, so don't you go anywhere in the Mediator. Me, Brian West. I'll be right back. Tune in to Methodate's YouTube channel to check out the top interviews that made it throughout the years and months. Visit methodate.com. Check out all the community interviews if you want to check it out. Methodate.com. Buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Oh, yeah. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Folks, it is the month of March, and we're also talking about odds. Like what are the odds of something happening? We just had the business deadline for taxes, but there's some other things that go on in business that you would just be like, what are the odds of that? So here's our what are the odds story for a business. You go to an amusement park and you are engaging in the activity of roller coaster riding. You and your compadres, your friends, are screaming, this ride is fun! Out of the corner of your eye, you notice that someone is stuck in a roller coaster on the other side of the park while you are mid-flight on going down. All of a sudden, you hear screams, "Ah! Her hair is stuck! Her hair is stuck!" What are the odds of you at the amusement park enjoying yourself and seeing someone getting dragged or getting in an accident at an amusement park? What are the odds? What are the odds of you being at a zoo and somebody opens up the gate of a tiger or gorillas, boop, 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 and the gorilla pumps out, grabs your child by the arm, and starts doing some very aggressive things? Tigers, lions, and bears. Folks, what are the odds this month? It's very scary. Could you imagine the look on your face and you're on that roller coaster. You've reached the peak of your foundation of vacational experiences, and you have to live with the sad story for the rest of your life of seeing something terrible happen at an amusement park. Children screaming. These things do happen, folks, on the business floor. It happens when you're in the parking lot of some big old box store and somebody just all of a sudden slips, falls on some spilled drink in the aisle of the shopping center. And the managers are all running around. There goes the budget for employment. There goes the insurance premiums, folks. We live in a world where things happen. And that's why we must join hands headed into these good holy months of fasting and praying. And we must pray to the Father that the odds don't catch us slipping. Don't catch us slipping. That we are blessed for the rest of our lives, and that we are blessed to spend eternity in the comfort of heaven. Folks, let's waste no time. What are the odds of me being blessed? Woo! Let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Does Trump have a plan to fix the economy? What are the odds? USA Today has an opinion piece explaining how Trump has no plan to fix the economy. The report explains how Trump's policies affect supply and demand. The report goes on into detail about what appears to be a halt to economic progress, but other opinions see something bigger in Trump's economic game. They see a slight hint that will eventually make America stronger in the long run. This is some, not all. But the problems is what is taking place in these bold moves now by Trump. What's happening now? Now, it seems clear that Trump plans to make it harder for businesses to do global business and force them to bring their business back to America in the United States. Make that Made in America stamp. Maybe that's what his plan is, folks. This story is still developing. That's story number 5. Story number 6. The farming story has to stay in the headlines. The Assembly has a headline that keeps farming in top news stories. The headline claims that North Carolina farmers are still waiting on federal payments for conservation and climate change programs, as well as emergency loans. That's what's stated in the report. Now, if you did not know, farmers have remained in top headlines due to their growing hits that they've been taking when it comes to worker shortages and profit hits that they've taken. Now, weather has also played a factor because North Carolina farmers, according to the report, are still recovering from flood damages and droughts. Now, in what this appears to be now, it appears to be some cuts by the federal government. This could be the reason for the delays. Because of the cuts that Trump has put on the federal government and some payments that are supposed to come from the federal government under Trump's leadership, the Trump administration, who has made the cuts. Now, the article explains how the payments were frozen in January because of Trump's plan to slash the federal government's budget. Folks, this story is still developing. That's why story number 6 also made it to the top 2 this week. Big. Story number 7 and the top 2. International headlines and developing news stories that I made this week for you to keep you informed. Folks, if you do want the show to show some support, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, order a sponsor program, or you can stop at the store at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio. See my smiling face. I like to look in the mirror and encourage myself. Story number 7. The stock market remains in top headlines. CBS News has a headline explaining how investors are fleeing U.S. stocks as tariff risk loom. This is the result of Trump's trade war with Canada, Mexico, China, and other countries. Investors are shifting the cash buying. They're shifting to cash, buying gold, and investing in other parts of the world because they want to make money. As everybody likes to do, make money. The entire report homes in on a real shakeup in the markets that could ripple into a lot of business plans, folks. This story is still developing. That's why story number 7 also made to the top this week. Big head. Story number 8 at the top. International headline and developing news story that made it this week for you. Keep you informed, folks. If you don't get up this early, you can check out the show. I do upload to the website on Monday. I put it up on our YouTube page. Let's get to this top story. Story number 8. The wild federal ride. Burning Teslas, protesting Elon, and Trump's bold move to balance the federal budget. Folks, NPR has a headline published March 15th explaining how federal agencies they're already planned for mass layoffs as Trump's workforce cuts continue. The thing is, how is this possible? That's the big question. Now, this is after large-scale jobs cuts and the elimination of government functions. This is what's stated in the report. This is after Trump has already done this. Now, if you did not know, tens of thousands of employees are on probationary status with the fate of their job status being determined by a judge, federal judge, and a president on a mission to balance the federal budget. So this is radical. It's hardly ever been seen. If it hasn't been in the mainstream stories like this. But folks, this story is still developing because this is a wild federal ride. I mean, the federal government has to account for a lot of things that take place in this country. You know, you have a lot of programs. So that's why the story made it to the top this week. Well, folks, there are top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I like to thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the mediator, the man in the middle, navigating your stories just to keep people informed. Folks, if you do want to show some support, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program. Or you can stop at the store at 5648 Market Street in Bourbon, Ohio. See my smiling face. Well, folks, I am out of here. I'll be back next week, Lord willing, looking through over 200 or more stories just to keep you informed. Thank you for tuning to the Mediator this week with me, Brian West. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.